Right. All right. Okay, no worries. Cool. So you can hear me, Palm?
Yes, we can.
Thanks, Alan. And Mount Isa, you can hear me as well. Guys. Joe. Please. All right. That's weird. Okay. I'm toggling between seeing Palm Island and seeing Mount Isa. So I'm just going to assume that both of you can see me. Is that correct, Junior?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. And Palm, you can see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, mate. Yeah. So it's just going between the two of you. I don't have two screens, so I don't know what's going on there. And Jono has thrown me in the deep end because I'm not Mr. Technical, as I've said to everybody else. But content-wise, hopefully I'm okay. All right. So I'm just going to pull that down. So good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all here. And just get this going up on the screen. Have you guys... So you should all be able to see what's on the screen when it comes up.
Hey, Trev.
Yes, Alan.
So because we've got the new assessment today.
The new what? Sorry, assessment what?
So the 002 assessment.
Yeah.
Today. Just to let you know, we've got the old copy, so we haven't had the new copy emailed through for a hard copy.
It should be on the learning management system.
Yeah, but we're not all linked up to that. So we're in our training sessions, we do the hard copies, and then we just upload our notes onto LMS.
Okay, well you're going to. Okay, we'll have to have a look at that because the one that's on the learning management system is the up-to-date one. The other one is it's changed from that.
And I can't print off the LMS, like for the assessment sheets, I can't print off the LMS.
Right, so at the moment you need me to email that to you, is that correct?
Yes, the 002 one.
Right, and was there a request back on Friday because Christine came to me just before and said, oh, have you sent the logbook over to Palm?
Yeah, I got all of that.
You got that, but did you also ask for the assessment and learner resource as well, did you?
No, just the assessment because we've got the learner resource.
Right, okay. All right, well, I didn't, I don't think you sent that to me. You sent it to Christine, didn't you? And she just checked with me this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe just Alan, just CC me in what you're sending to Christine then.
Yeah.
So I'm training mental health, one word, training mental health at collectability.com.au.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Look, it's just the formatting that's changed on those assessments. So it's basically the same, but you're going to, when I refer to a page number, you'll have to just remind me to say exactly where you are.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Alan. All right. So can you see what's on the screen? The good evening?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. What about Mount Isa? Junior?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, mate. All right, well, let's go through that, everybody. And everybody here, face-to-face is okay? Yeah, all ready to go? All right. So, Mara, all good? We're gonna get going. All right. So, this is our second unit, of course, and it's our first night this week. So, good evening and welcome to week 2. The unit as you sign in for your role. By the way, I was talking to Christine with regard to Mount Isa and she's going to send you some documentation. We only just talked about that about 5 minutes ago. Just roles and training and support plan and things like that. It won't take you long to sort that out, but just so you can start some files over there for each of the people, Roseanne and Junior, or Alan and Junior.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Alan, are you sort of looking after that for Roseanne or with Roseanne or?
Yeah, as a team, we work as a team. So.
Okay, that's good. All right, excellent. That's good. So, am I talking to you, Alan, whenever I talk about that sort of stuff, or do I talk to both you and Roseanne, or what?
Mainly me, and then I relate it to Roseanne if I'm stuck with anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, as it was last week, so the two contact people are Junior and Alan. Okay. All right. So just on the screen, everybody, the unit that you sign in for your role is C4MH Session. establish self-directed recovery relationships. On your roll, you just put, that's for the people that are here. You just put that number there, okay, on your roll. Everybody okay with that? Okay, and just moving on. Just stop me if I'm going too fast, everybody. I just want to say to you that this week is going to be a lot easier than last week, but we'll get to that in a moment. So just don't feel that I'm going to lumber you with exactly the same amount of work as I did last week. This week is actually relatively easy, so that's good. Yeah, that is good, isn't it? So last week there were some teething challenges regarding Zoom and the LMS, and as you can see, they're being sorted out, so microphones and that sort of thing. There were some questions about actually logging on to the learner management system during class from some of you. If you want to do that, can you log in ahead of time here or in your locations so that you're ready to go at 5 o'clock? Is that okay with everybody? All right, so just remind me, Alan, are you guys actually in the LMS right now?
No, only I am. I use my LMS to log into Zoom.
Righto, okay. So you've got that in front of you. Okay, that's fine. At least one of you's there. Yep, and what about you? Yep, go on, Alan.
Hang on, because when I use Zoom to log in,
yeah,
then you kind of take over my login.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you get on to, if that's a problem, get on to Jono about it if you would.
Yeah, I've spoken to Jono and he said to just minimize your screen.
Yeah.
And then log into LMS again, but then I don't know how that's going to work for us to see your screen.
Okay, well, in terms of technology, like I'm pretty good with a whole bunch of stuff, but this is all new to me with that.
Yeah.
So if you just want to get on to Jono, he's the best one to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks, Zach. All right, and Junior, at least one of you has got the LMS open there?
Yeah, I do, and yeah, a few of the people haven't.
Okay, that's cool. Looks like it's toggling between the two places when you guys are talking, so that's actually great. So it just switched to Mount Isa then, that's great. All right, okay, so let's move on. Tonight when we move into an interesting and much needed topic, establish self-directed recovery relationships. What do you think this might be about? And no question is a dumb question, right? So all questions you ask are okay. Can I get everybody to, unless you're really needing to be on the phone, can you actually put it on silent and just put it away? That'd be really great. So what do you think established self-directed recovery relationships might be about? So what about Palm? We'll start with you. What do you think it might be about? Beg your pardon? Can't hear you.
Support groups? Would you attend support groups for self-recovery or?
Yeah, well, it includes part of that. Yep, okay, that's fine. All right, let's go to Mount Isa. What do you guys think when you see those words?
It's allowing allowing the person with mental health issues to basically choose. They get to direct and choose who they connect with in order to recover.
Okay, that's good. All right. So there's the sort of main point there. So they're directing it. This is what it's all about. It's them directing the support that we're giving. And the other thing is it's about recovery, which we started to learn a little bit about last week, recovery, and we're going to look at a bit more tonight. And what recovery is, what recovery orientation is, and that sort of thing. Okay, so if we look on the screen about this unit describes the skills and knowledge required to promote the principles of recovery-oriented practice and to establish and confirm self-directed recovery relationships with people with mental illness. So no surprises there. First though, I just want to ask a couple of questions about last week. I'm not going to spend a real lot of time on this, but I just want to open it up and just say, the amount of work. Who is frightened and daunted by the amount of work that has to be done? All right. Okay. All right. There's a couple there. Mount Isa, how are you going?
I think it's about what we expected.
Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. And
Yeah, Yeah, I think we are. It's all new learning for us, I suppose.
Beg your pardon?
I think it's all new for us, so, and how we operate on palm is different too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
But it's all good.
yeah, okay. Just, Alan, you've got my work mobile number, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, just if you've got anybody there that's really having a struggle, just give me a call, eh?
Yeah, it'd be good if I can do that. But
Just keep, no worries. And just keep in mind that on Wednesday to Friday, I'm out of action from 8:30 to 3:30 at the prison.
Yeah.
So if you've got any questions, I can get back to you up to 3:30. Okay, and same for you guys, Mount Isa. Yep.
Right.
Okay, just a second dot point here. Remember, just less than 4 months and it's all over. That was one of the great things that we redesigned this for last time. It used to be 12 months. The policy now is going to change that we have to get everything done in 6 months. And this is done in 4 months. So you've got 2 months to kind of do any corrections. You won't need 2 months, I'm telling you now. So technically you can get this all done in 4 months if you just keep up every week. As I said, there's a new policy coming in, which means you'll have to have everything completed in 6 months. It's actually a good thing. It doesn't seem like it, but it gets everything done and dusted in just a short period of time, and you have your qualification before you know it. So the group last time, they actually had a bit of a culture shock. They knew that they were coming in just like you guys. They came in and they're all excited and everything was going good. And they really like, wow, there's a fair bit of work here. And back then, we trialled, actually, I think I said it last week, that we were going to give you the assessments on Tuesday and you were going to maybe try and get them in on Thursday. And that was a definite rule back then. We trialled that. It didn't work. Some people still did do it so that they had their weekends free. So you're more than welcome to do that. I think that's the third time I've said that. But for last week, your assessments basically are due this Thursday. However, having said that, I just want to say this week and this week only, I mean, I'm going to be lenient no matter what, but just in terms of trying to get everybody through in that 6 months and preferably 4 months, I'm going to sort of be asking if you come to me if you want an extension. If you want some more time, that's all good, all right? Nobody's saying you can't have an extension, but I'm just going to try and work on the fact that you'll get your assessments in the following week. Is that okay? So my recommendation is keep up every week. I'll be promoting that. All right, so let's talk about the logbook. Now, I emailed that to just about everybody last night. Right, okay. It's okay. I've got 2 spare copies here for these guys here. Actually, we're not going to really have a good look at it tonight, but just have a look at your emails. Did anybody actually download that and print it out at all, or actually save it?
Not the logbook, no.
Okay.
Are you wanting us to print it?
No, you don't have to print it. Pardon?
How many pages is it?
It's quite a lot.
More than 50?
We can print it out here for you, and you guys at Palm and Mount Isa, you can print it out there if you want to do it by hand. And happy for you to do it by hand. And basically, when you have that logbook, and I'll just grab one here, I don't want you to have any more, if you're writing it, don't have any more than what the spaces are. All right, that's enough for each one. Otherwise, I've actually made it so that you won't write too much. So that's okay. Now, in terms, if you're doing it electronically or on the LMS, it'll expand out if you want it to do that. But again, try and stick within the space that you've got on the LMS or electronically. Yeah, just to make sure you speak up. Sorry, guys. Yep. Yeah. So let's have a talk about that now. Does each place? So let's check. Alan, do you have a logbook printed out in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about you, Junior?
I have it in front of the computer.
All right. Has anybody there printed one out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So somebody's got recourse to it there. And what about you guys here? Has anybody printed one out? Right. Okay. Okay. I didn't print it out because I was hoping that you would have saved it by now, right? So I didn't print them all out for you guys. So basically on the front here is the hours that you're working at the place at your work placement, all right? And that has to add up to 120 hours. And in addition to, oh, sorry, 80 hours, I beg your pardon, I'm thinking about another organisation. So 80 hours. As long as you've got records of, so you need to back this up with actual hard copy of your timesheets. All right, so as long as you've got your timesheets to back that up, all right? Is everybody clear on that? So guys, it's selectability. That shouldn't be a problem with you guys, and I'm pretty sure with everybody else who aren't at selectability. Jill, is that going to be, you go okay with that? Yeah, all good.
Trevor,
Yes.
can we cross out the client names?
Yes. So black out or white out the client names, please. Yep. Thanks, Roseanne. Good thought. All right. Now, on the first page, it's just got, you've got to describe 3 people that you're working with. All right. So that's where we start. Does everybody have 3 people that you're working with? If you don't, I've got, and it's actually uploaded into the LMS, and I've got hard copies here of 3 people that you can use as a case study. All right. So you can just do it from that. All right. So either your 3 that you've got, yes, that's that one there. Yeah. Either your 3, or you can download it off the LMS. Guys that are here, I've got a hard copy for you if you want that. So make sure you come and see me ahead of time. And then you just answer the questions. So what I'm recommending at the end of tonight and before next week, that you actually get in here and start writing a few things, all right? Because this unit is the one that it starts on. Right? Okay, so this is C4MH 002. Now, that's in addition to the assessment that you're going to do this week. But the good news is, I'll just reiterate, is that the assessment this week is nowhere near as difficult as last week. In fact, a lot of the stuff that you did last week is actually duplicated in this one. So it actually means that you don't have to do that part again, all right? So we don't make you do it twice, which is really good news. All right, so with that being the case, the extra time that you would have done, that you would have used to fill out all that extra stuff that you don't now have to do, make sure you make a start on this, all right? So just, it's still on the logbook. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was toggling between the two. I was just saying that on the actual assessment for this week, not the logbook, the assessment the one that we're going to do this week, that assessment has got a lot of duplication from last week. And therefore you don't have to do it. I've actually got it on the assessment that you don't have to redo that. All right. And what I was saying from that, Leonie, is that because you're going to save time not doing that extra work for this assessment, actually get started on your logbook. All right. So can I just you don't have to copy it. Oh, right. Yeah, you guys are a special case. You guys didn't do last week, did you? Okay, so anybody who's credit transferred from last week, no, you would have done it already. You would have done it. Yeah, so you've already done it, so you still don't have to do it. Yeah, all right? So that's okay. All right, so you 3 don't have to do it. Right? Just like everybody else doesn't have to do it. Okay. Is that clear, Mount Isa? Junior?
Sorry, say that again.
Is what clear?
Is what clear? Yeah.
It's all clear? Okay, cool. Thank you. And Alan, you guys clear?
Yeah.
What do you want to clarify?
Sorry, who's talking to me?
No,
You're right.
you asked us.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, you asked us, is that clear? I wasn't sure what you were asking was clear.
Okay, you weren't clear about what had to be clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And Alan, did you say that you guys are okay with that
Yeah, we're
explanation?
okay. No.
Okay, cool.
Oh, no.
It's me, Trev.
Alan, if there's somebody there asking you a question, can they ask you and then can you tell it, because I can't hear what they're saying?
Right. Roseanne may have difficulties completing 80 hours in the current role for her logbook.
Okay.
Okay.
Roseanne, can you just put that into an email for me or something like that, or give me a call after 3:30 tomorrow
Yeah.
on my phone? Yeah.
Yep.
Have you got my number?
I can give it to her.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Okay, cool. We'll have a chat about it. Okay, somebody else? Remote?
No, Isaac.
All good. Okay, I've got a question here. Joe?
I just want to reiterate,
Yep.
right, this written activity for this week.
Yep.
We totally delete task 2. But it says do not do this task, don't do that.
You don't. Yeah, we'll get to it in a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Just bear with it, yeah. But the good news is, yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, you don't have to redo number 2. Okay. All right. So I think I've said. I'll just put on the screen here. You'll be smart if you look at it on weekends after you do the following units. So CHC-MH 002, which is the one we're doing this week. That's the first unit you have to do in the logbook. There are 3 units you have to do in the logbook. All right. So the first unit is the one this week. Next week is the next unit that's in the logbook. So don't go ahead. Just do this week. And then CHC-MH 004, the third unit, happens 2 weeks after next week, right? So there's a unit in between, right? So you don't have to do a logbook on that week in between. You've just got 3 units you have to do. All good? Any questions, anybody?
Yeah,
I'll just wait for these guys first. Won't be a sec. Sorry, Mara. All right. All good, Mount Isa, and all good, Palm.
So this logbook, how long is this logbook, or how long do we have to complete this logbook?
Okay, I probably skipped over that. All right, so you've technically got 6 months. Now, when I say 6 months, you've got to allow time for any corrections. So let's say 5 months, right? Just to give, given that I've got 30 assessments, 30 times 15 assessments plus a logbook, it would be really good if you had it all done 5 months after we started. So count from last week, 5 months ahead. Or to make that easier, about a month after we finish the last lesson. Yeah, so that's the 21st of February. So let's say the 21st of March, something like that, Junior.
Okay.
Yep, okay. And then that gives me another month to mark it, just in case, So,
okay.
But having said that, can I just reiterate, I'll just get everybody's attention. It's much better if you really try after each week of the next 2 weeks, skip a week, and then the 4th week after these 3 units. Is everybody clear what I'm saying there? So 002, 003, 004. We're doing this week, next week, skip a week where we're doing a different unit, which doesn't need a logbook, and then we're doing 004 in that 4th week. So the 3rd unit in the logbook gets done in the 4th week. Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions here, guys? Face to face? Purity? Yep. Okay. So Purity's just asked, how far are we going up with the logbook? All right. So it's at your own steam, and you are going up to page, glasses on. You're going up to page 12. Page 12. Now, let me just say, you don't have to hand this in next week. I'm just getting this clear, right? It's a recommended thing that you try and get it done by next week, but you don't actually have to hand this in until right at the end. I'm just saying, try and get on top of it. The guys in the last cohort, for reasons which I won't go into, they couldn't get a start on it until basically right at the end. And so some of them are still doing their logbook, and they're finding that, like, oh my goodness, I've got to put my head back in about 15 weeks ago to when I was doing those units. It's much, much better if you've done the unit this week and you actually go in and do the logbook for this week as well. Yeah. Right.
I know that from experience.
Yeah.
Because I did mine with 3 and so 3.
Yeah. Okay. So what Sarah's saying is that she's got experience of that when she did her Cert 3 in individual support, and she did the logbook after she'd done all the classes, and it was just really difficult to get her head back into all those units because it had been, you know, weeks and weeks since you'd finished that. So if you could really, you know, I just want to really encourage you, please have a look at the logbook for this unit, which is only the first 12 pages, this week, sometime, this week or next week. Okay, question from Mara.
Still with the logbook, you know, with the hours,
Yeah.
if you have evidence of it, do you still need your management to sign it?
Okay, you need your manager to sign just once. Sorry, twice. Basically, on the inside front cover, they have to sign once that you've done the actual 80 hours, right? So you're handing in some documentation, your timesheets with people's names whited or blacked out,
Yeah.
right? That's your evidence plus the signature of your team leader.
Handing it into you or to
Yeah. No, to me, handing it to me, all right? Plus that page is all filled out. No, your workplace is a supervisor, all right?
Yeah.
Your workplace supervisor has to sign off on that sheet on the inside front.
If you don't have a supervisor,
Have you got a supervisor at all?
No,
Not on site.
Not on site, no.
So they're not here in Townsville.
No, they are. They said they're not, but they say they are.
All right. No, your team leader, whoever it is,
Yeah.
they just need to sign off. That's okay. They've still got to sign it off, all right? You must be in relationship with your team leader somehow. Yeah? Okay. They still have to, you know. All right, good point. Just hold that question, please, Francis. All right, those who've got it in front of you, turn to the last page. Looks like this. All right, and there, your team leader, your supervisor has to actually fill something in and do this right as the last thing. Don't get it straight away. They have to actually write a little commentary about how you are going in your job in that 80 hours of placement or your regular job, okay? So if it's your regular job, you're just taking 80 hours out of any time and place up until now, basically. So let's say the last 80 hours of work that you've done. All right, and then I do actually sign on this page, but I sign this when you've handed it in. Your team leader has to also sign on this page too. So they fill a bit out, they sign it, then you hand it in once everything's done. One other thing too, you have to sign each of the units at the end of each unit. So on page 12, there's a place there for your signature. And then when you do MHS 003 next week, there's a place on page 21. And then MHS 004 on page 26. So you have to sign those three places as well. Okay. Alan, all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Junior, all good?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, cool. Okay. You guys, I'm not going to go through this housekeeping here, which it just relates to Townsville. So I'll do that. I'm just going to finish about 10 minutes early with everybody, and I'll go through this housekeeping at that time with you guys, all right? All right. Okay, so I think we can actually get into the learning. So I'm just going into the LMS now. Did I mention before that the logbook is down now in the LMS as assessment task number 5? So if you want to go looking for it, assessment task number 5. If I click on that now, this comes up immediately with, and you got to click on your attachment there, open, and it comes up with the logbook. So there's the logbook there, all right? So if you had it in color, it's pretty red. Just one thing there which probably needs to be changed in the next edition of this logbook is that your poor team leader doesn't have to sign every single line, just once, all right? Okay, it used to be before last year, before I was on board, that they had to sign every line. Don't do that. And if you could just total up those hours in that total hours on the second page there, that would be really helpful, all right? So you've got to make sure that you come up with 80 hours. So totaling it down the bottom ensures that you've got 80 hours. All right, so that's that. So let's go back. There. All right, so So now I'm going to go into the assessment. I'm going to start with the short answer questions, everybody. So if you're on the LMS, it's assessment task 4. For the people here who've got the hard copy, it is on the new edition. It's on page 12. That's questions, yep. So I normally go backwards because it's better to answer the short answer questions first. And then have your learner resource in front of you, everybody. Yeah. Got an assessment? All right. Okay, no worries. So, Alan, are you guys able to find your questions in the old edition of the assessment?
Yeah.
Right at the end there? All right, so you should have 17 questions, yeah?
It should be questions, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
well,
cool. All right, so
yeah, 17 over the page.
everybody, wherever you are, have your learner resource in front of you. Of a learner resource. Yep. And your assessment beside that. So I'm going to talk about both of those. And we basically do that every week. And we just go through the questions. You'll be pleased to know that in future, I actually put the page number on the assessment, but I haven't done that yet for this mock. You know, there's been a lot of change, so I just haven't had time to do that. But for now, all right, so question 1. In the questions, it says, in what ways can you build a supporting relationship with each person you work with? All right, so go to page 15 in your learner resource. And have a look down the bottom of that page 15 and you've got 1 dot point. Hang on. All right, so that's 1 dot point, and then up on the top of the next page, page 16, you've got 3 dot points. All right. MHS, go to the front. Go to the front. MHS 002. Yeah, at the bottom of what is recovery model, there's a dot point. All right, is there 4 dot points on the top of the next page? All right, okay, all right. So sometimes, for whatever reason, it just goes up to the next page, all right? Okay, now, yes, I do want all those. So I want those 4 dot points, and you don't have to write anything other than those 4 dot points, all right? So that's going to make it nice and easy for you tonight. Yeah, with no explanation, just the dot points. However, I'm going to do some teaching while we're going through. So that's the answer to question 1. Let's go back and read those, right? So the question was, in what ways can you build a supporting relationship with each person you work with? The first answer is mentally and emotionally supporting them. That makes sense, doesn't it? Right, you right, Mara?
Oh, you need to be honest. Yeah, that's right. The question is not for the short one.
Okay, you right now? Okay, all right. So the first part, mentally and emotionally supporting them, that makes sense. And I think with us working in the industry, we definitely know that we have to do that. The second thing is listening carefully to their issues. We're going to talk a little bit more later about becoming too involved in their issues, because we can't do that. But obviously, while we're on shift, we're going to support them with the issues that they have, correct? Yeah. So that's that. Coaching where and when it is needed without interfering or demanding. So coaching, what do we mean by that? I'll just take it from face-to-face people here in Townsville first, and then I'll get back to Palm and Mount Isa. What do we mean? What do you think we might mean by coaching? Encouragement, yeah. Supporting, prompting, yeah. Just saying, okay, have a go at this, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Happy with that, Palm and Mount Isa?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And the last dot point there, providing for their needs as required. This does not only mean their mental health needs. So remember, we basically touched on holistic care last week. And you guys here in Townsville, what's holistic mean?
Describe it like a tree.
Yeah.
You know, you're the
like a tree.
And then you've done all these branches.
All these branches, yeah. Family, doctors,
friends, to, culture,
emotional, social, cultural, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So holistic, even though it starts with HOLIST, is actually about the whole, WHOLE. All right? Yeah, cool. Excellent. All right, so that's great. So that's your answers for question 1, everybody. So I've basically done the teaching while we've done that question, and it's just stuff that you do normally anyway. It's just acknowledging that. All right, so if there's no questions, just let me know. If there are, I'll go on to question 2. So has everybody got that written down, what's required for question 1? Right, Mara, you're okay now? You're all good? Not really? All right, so we're just working between those 2 books. Yep. All right, question 2. Let's have a look on page 12 of the assessment. The assessment book, page 12, question 2. Why is hope vital? Right, very simple question. Let's have a look on, I could probably get you to do it off the top of your head, and actually I will do that right now before I give you a page number. Sarah, why is hope vital? Just off the top of your head.
Because if they don't have hope, they don't have goals that they're going to work towards.
They don't have goals that they're going to work towards. All right. Anything you want to, thanks very much, Sarah. Anything you want to add to that, Palm? Why is hope vital? You tell me what anybody there says, Alan, please.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, okay, light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not just the approaching train.
Bring them out of there.
Sorry, Alan, what was the second bit?
What was the second bit now? Build your self-esteem.
Yeah, and encourage, they feel encouraged and.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, exactly. It's just, I mean, it's very basic question and very basic answer. It's just acknowledging that. Junior, anything more that Mount Isa wants to add at all?
Yeah, it just gives it a sense of direction.
Yeah, give a sense of direction. So that's, again, sort of like goals and stuff like that, something to work towards. Good. All right, so can I just encourage you, I'm happy for you to write your own answer into that one. However, if you wanted something else to add to that, go to page 17. And there are 4 dot points at the top of page 17. Can I get you to add at least 2 of those? So 1 of your own in your own words. So I've just given you that opportunity in your own words. So that's the first dot point, your own word, your own words. The second 2 dot points, so dot point 2 and dot point 3, you're actually taking from those 4 dot points on page 17 of the learner resource. Pardon?
One of your own.
What's happening on the resource?
Once you do 1 dot point,
Yeah.
you can also do a dot point.
Oh, really?
Under it.
Has anybody else found, so Purity is saying that once you do a dot point on the LMS, you can't do another one?
Now you can.
Okay.
So it's not like only one thing. It will be like, if you wanted 2, then you say that you can add 2. Second dot point add 2. It's how much more dot points. It's not just 2 dot points and
Right.
some dot points.
Okay, I'll have to have a look at that. All right. Okay, I'll have a look at that. All right, just let me know if there's any other problems with the LMS as well. All right, so everybody clear? The first dot point is your own words. Why is hope vital? Dot point 2 and dot point 3 you can take from page 17 of the learner resource. Okay, all right. Question 3. What might personal values and beliefs impact on? All right, before I tell you anything. So personal values. So for example, if you come into this industry and you've got a personal issue, like I'll give you an example out of my teenage life. All right, so I had some relations one relation who was a full-time carer in Melbourne for people with, just gone out of my head, wheelchair-bound people. I can't remember the name of it's a well-known, cerebral palsy, thank you. So they had cerebral palsy. He had 4 people that he looked after, and I was actually frightened as a teenager because I just didn't understand what was going on with those people. And as I've gotten older, I've had to deal with quite a number of them and found them just lovely people. And as we all know, there's nothing wrong with them in their mental abilities. It's just, you know, getting that out and communicating. Yeah, frightened of the unknown. So, so in answering that question, what might personal values and beliefs impact on? If you came with a bit of that still in you, you'd be frightened of actually facing the job that you're doing. And I do know when I first started in this industry, people said to me, my goodness, that must be really hard, you know, because they're seeing it from their perspective and they're saying, you know, I'm frightened of people with a mental health issue. You know, they might have seen somebody that was having a psychosis at one stage, or they might have seen a movie. They think they know what psychosis is about, and they actually don't really know what it's about. So it's just the unknown. So that's what it's looking at. And again, you can put your own slant on that. You can put a dot point on that. But on page 19, just turn on to that. Page 19 in the learner resource, there are 5 dot points there. And you can just do that word for word if you like, right? So I'm just going to swap things around. Do those 5 dot points. Everybody does that. And then as a 6th dot point, you can, it's up to you, it's optional. You can put just something that's personal to you, all right? Again, very confidential, and just, it's not mandatory, right? You don't have to do it. All right.
Is that question 3?
That's question 3. Yep. All right. Question 4. There can be a great deal of impact on the person suffering mental illness if carers are excluded. What might the impact include? All right, just some definitions here. In the broad sense, we are carers, in the very broad sense, right? But in the narrow sense, we are support workers. So we are first and foremost support workers in the mental health industry. We're not carers. So carers would be 24/7 or would have, you know, they'd be doing, this is my catch cry about carers. Carers do for, support workers do with. So those 2 prepositions make all the difference. If you want to write that down, carers do for and support workers do with. So that's what we've got to be really careful when we are supporting people, that we don't actually take over. And that's basically, I think that message comes through loud and clear in most of our training, and it's reiterated here in this training here. So carers are doing for, we're doing with as a support worker. So this question is actually relating to people other than ourselves. It's not talking about us, it's talking about carers. So that'd be family, paid carers, friends, that sort of thing, who are actually looking after their needs. So let's ask that question again. Question 4 on page 12. There can be a great deal of impact on the person suffering mental illness if carers are excluded. What might the impact include? Can I just throw it out to the Zoom people? So Mount Isa, so Junior, anybody there? What, just before we go to any pages, keeping or, you know, not including family or other carers, what might that impact on the person suffering mental illness? How might that impact them if we exclude them?
They wouldn't have someone to advocate for them.
Okay, yeah. So they lose advocacy. Yeah, all right. So we're doing that too as support workers. We're doing advocacy work with them. But, you know, the full-time carers or the part-time carers, they really know a lot about that person, or they usually do, you know. So you're right. And thanks very much, Junior. And Alan, anything Palm wants to add there?
They probably struggle with their day-to-day living, I suppose, or things that they need to achieve daily that is probably normal for us, but it's a struggle for them.
Yeah, okay, good answer. Okay, great, excellent. Okay, so let's go to page 21. And you'll see halfway down the page of page 21 in the learner resource, there's a heading, or not a heading, but there's this paragraph that starts, there can be a great deal of impact on the person suffering mental illness if carers are excluded. the impact may include. Just give me those 8 dot points, please, just word for word. Once you've written that instruction to yourself down, we're going to go through that quickly and just do a bit of learning. Okay, so the first dot point, increase in relapse rates. So, you know, they haven't got their tried and true care network in place. If we don't include them, we need to keep that in mind because they could relapse. That's the first dot point. Second dot point, increase in hospital admissions. So because they relapse, they go back into hospital. Third one, non-adherence to medication. So it basically puts them right out of whack. So they can start to go off their medications. Increase in psychiatric symptoms, decrease in employment rates. So I'm sure you've all got stories. My story with working with one of my guys is that he did a certificate 3 in hospitality, got a job with McDonald's, did really well. I was posted, well, there was a couple of things that went wrong, and he basically went off his medication and lost his employment, which was really sad because he'd worked really hard to get that. Next one, decrease in community involvement. So again, you know, not including the carers can lead to that. Increased burden on the system and increased costs associated with the system overload. So all of those, if you can add those into that question 4, that'd be great. Okay. Happy to keep moving, everybody? Okay, question 5. Just butt in, Junior or Alan, if you need any help. Question 5, what do boundaries allow you to do? All right, so we're going to go to page 25 in the learner resource. I'm actually going to read before I tell you the answer. Okay, so read with me. So topic 2 is establish the context for a self-directed recovery relationship. Everybody got that in their learner resource? Yeah. Okay, let's go down underneath the line, and it says establishing and maintaining a safe, positive working relationship and environment with your clients will be another vital step in the recovery process. There is a fine line between being under-involved and being over-involved, and this is where you must be. You're somewhere in the middle there, right? And you begin to see where that is as you keep working. Being under-involved means that you could be disinterested, distancing, and neglectful, but being over-involved means that you could be crossing and violating boundaries. So there's a happy medium right in the middle there. Somewhere in the middle will be of the most benefit to your clients. Of course, there are not definite lines, but you should ensure that you are not too far one way or the other. And this is the part that I really wanted to get to. The most important thing is that you know and understand your professional boundaries. Now, this is not the answer, but it's something that you need to understand as we're talking about it right now. The answer is actually at the bottom, but I'm going to go through the next set of dot points, the top set of dot points on that page. We need to understand that first. So clearly establish limits. Hang on, let me go back to that heading sentence above the first set of dot points. It says the most important thing is that you know and understand your professional boundaries. They include clearly established limits that allow for relationships between you and your clients, right? So obviously we have a relationship with our clients. We couldn't work with them if we didn't have a relationship, all right? And just bear with me. So the next one is being with the client, not becoming them. Now, I've actually seen people, when I've been a team leader, who've actually advocated so much and taken on board that person that they're working with, they actually almost become that person. They're such an advocate that they're actually living that person's life. And it's really destructive, not only to them, but also to the person that they're helping. Because what's the thing about, you know, we're doing, as a support worker, we are working with. We're not doing for, we're working with. It's actually about them doing their stuff, and we're supporting that. So then, sure, question from Leonie. Yep.
So I have a English client.
Yeah.
Who has several different needs.
Yeah.
She's asked purely to meet all her medical appointments.
Yeah.
So they just want to know what the doctor's
Yeah.
prescribing. She gets to the food.
Right.
So she only needs
Okay. Yeah. But you've,
overstepping the
No, it isn't. So the question from Leonie, if I can try and summarise that, is that Leonie's been requested under the NDIS, under the client who's working under NDIS, right? She can actually ask for you to be her worker, there's nothing wrong with that. And then Leonie works with that person and actually knows everything that's going on with that person, basically as the go-to person. But when your shift finishes, you're actually not still working with that person, are you? You know, the thing is, you are there, you're on board during the shift, but when the shift is finished, that's the end of that sort of relationship as such, all right? Yeah, you know, so, but when you go back to the next shift, yep, you're on board again. During your shift, you ring and make the appointments. Okay, but is that something that you could encourage her? Okay. Yeah, it does, the old faithful of not having phone credit, all right? That's a difficult one. That's something that we're not going to get into now, but basically we should be really encouraging them to be making their own phone calls, all right? And having enough credit.
Sometimes I have left shift 20 minutes early. I'll go home. It's a hospital at the time.
Yeah.
It could be on hold for 20 minutes.
Yeah. All right.
Use my main phone.
Yeah. Okay. You might be in danger of crossing some boundaries there. So that might be something that you need to talk to your team leader about.
Yeah. Because I had a client like that I just talked about the same one, and she would never have phone credit, you know. And
talking about not having phone credit.
She doesn't have the phone credit. That's her issue. You know? She wanted to borrow the phone, just make appointments, or just maybe ring her daughter, or to take her, you know.
So this is, you know, this is an issue that we've got to address. Another one is not having parking money if they need to do something in town. And so for example, there was one guy that was requested to go to his lawyers, and it was right in the middle of the city, and he wanted me to pay the parking. And I said, I'm not doing that, you know. We're not allowed to do that. So we had to park in the free parking and then walk. All right. Now he was really upset about that, but we're not allowed to pay for the parking. Right. So if you really follow that through, and I'm not sure what your company's policy is, we shouldn't be actually making phone calls for them either.
Yeah, we do that too. We have, so we warn our customers first.
Yeah.
We go to the hospital, things have $5.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So the comment that Mara has made is that if they have to, with her organisation, if they have to go to the hospital, they pre-warn their client that they're going to have to fork out $5. Right? Yeah, I know with selectability with the Townsville Hospital, I think we still have, we've got some cards that they get it for free. Yeah. So that's the only thing that we can pay for them with selectability.
Yeah.
At other organisations, yeah. So I mean, maybe the other thing, Leonie, is that you can maybe make those phone calls at work. I don't know what your. Yeah. Okay. So that's something that maybe you can take up with your team leader. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's keep going. So the third dot point is really kind of crystallizing everything that we've already said, which is being friendly but not a friend. Now, again, that can be an issue because, for example, people who are very lonely, I've had one guy say to me, you know, can I come around and help you wash your car because my car was a bit dirty that week? Can I come and help you? You know, he was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And I had to say to him, you know, it's company policy that we don't do that, you know, once the shift is finished. And so he wanted to really have a really good conversation. He was very upset when I said to him, when I had to finally get to the point and say, look, you know, on shift, you know, I'm going to help you as much as possible. But when the shift finishes, the boundary is there for a reason. And he was like, oh, but you're my friend. You're my friend. And in fact, what it's saying there is that we're friendly, but we're not a friend. It's a difficult conversation to have. It's a really hard one. What's that, Jean? Yeah. Yeah, we don't add them on Facebook and things like that. Yeah, which is, it's difficult. And they do consider us as a friend. Sarah.
I'm currently working with somebody that I went to school with.
Yeah.
And she wants to like deal with good friends at school.
Yeah.
And she wants to hang out with me outside of work.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, unfortunately, like I said, if you want me to hang around with you, I can't work
Yeah.
So you can either have me as a support worker, or you should ask me as a support worker.
All right.
Or we can have a friendship and not work together.
Okay, so I'm just going to say for the other guys, just hang on, guys. So I'm just saying for Mount Isa and Palm, the comment of Sarah's was that she's working with somebody who used to be she went to school with. Is that right, Sarah?
Sorry?
You went to school with her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that person said she wanted to, befriend her after hours. Yeah, and Facebook as well?
No.
No, not on Facebook. And so Sarah had to give her an option that we either work together, we're not friends out, or otherwise we are friendly and I can't be your support worker. So there had to be clear boundaries established. All right. So any other comments, Mount Isa, Junior, anything there about that point?
Oh, we're good.
Oh, good. All right. Alan, anything there from Palm?
Yeah, now good.
Okay, good. Okay. Yep. All right. Next 2 dot points, know where you end and the client begins. All right. That's sort of a very broad statement. And the last one, understand the limits of your job role and the responsibilities that you as a mental health worker have. All right. Now, that's not the answers. The answers are underneath that. So let's read the heading. And it says, boundaries are important for a number of reasons. They allow you to, and this is the answer. So you need these 7 dot points. You need to role model healthy communication methods, role model professional relationships, avoid the rescuer role. All right, so we had to terminate somebody who just could not get away from being a rescuer. That was their thing. It was very sad because they really had that person's interest at heart, but too much. It became their life. Yep. It allows you to stay focused on your responsibilities. So it allows you to shut off at the end of that shift, right? You work hard with them during that shift. You're friendly, you're courteous, you're caring. Then you can go to the next shift, right? And you can shut down emotionally.
And you have to be able to shut down.
You need to be able to shut down.
You have to, like even when I go in between the 2 clients, I have music on and just try and clear before getting to the next. So you have to shut it.
So Frances is saying in her travel time between each shift, she's actually listening to music and just having some downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, let's keep going. Up on the top of page 26, provide helpful and appropriate services. So that's avoid burnout and maintain physical and emotional safety. All right. Just those dot points, all right? So we're doing the second set of dot points, starting on page 25, the bottom of page 25, and continuing up onto the top of page 26. Don't do the first set of dot points, do the second set. All right. Now, I'm going to keep going a little bit on that page, just underneath where you finish. So your last dot point in your answer will be maintain physical and emotional safety. Yeah? Everybody's got that? Let's keep reading. This is not part of your answer, but just part of the learning for tonight. Not setting and maintaining boundaries can lead to some very serious problems. They include compassion fatigue, splitting of teams, right? So, for example, that person that was really passionate about their person, they were getting so uptight because other people weren't caring for the person the way that they were caring for them. Somebody else on that shift, on a shift with that person. So they sort of became the mother-father figure for that person. And if somebody else wasn't doing what they were doing, then they were upset with them. So that's where it became a problem.
Can I say, couldn't they have been taken away from that client?
It just became that they could have, and we put in a whole bunch of ways of remedying that situation and just talking to them, but they were a rescuer, in the very big sense of the word, and they ended up not being able to work in this part of the industry. They had to go into a different part of the industry because they're always going to be a rescuer, in that sense. Okay, third dot point there, not proving the help that clients need, all right? Client may feel betrayed or abandoned. I know with one guy, when I moved out to Charter's House as a team leader, he felt abandoned because he had, in his mind, really set up a linkage with me. He had some other people that he was working with that I was his key worker. And so he felt abandoned when I went, and that really actually caused some problems for him. So that's something we have to manage as well. Just be aware that. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's another person. All right. And it can lead to us not acting ethically. It can lead to us having a poor reputation with our team leaders, all right? Because they're watching for that you don't become too involved, all right? That you are actually maintaining your own emotional health and shutting down after your shift. Next one, emotional trauma for the client, all right? So this is we're talking about both you and the client. And the next part, setting and maintaining boundaries can be quite a challenge sometimes. The reasons for this could be you and your client may know one another from other settings. Yeah. So Sarah's just talked about that situation. The history of the client from other service providers. Details from the client's story can trigger your own issues, right? So that, you may not have issues, but some people do have issues, and we all have issues, don't we? We all have some issues. Anybody who hasn't got an issue, put your hand up. I'm going to put mine down. Yeah. Oh. Well, actually, Purity's just made an interesting comment. So she said that her mother-in-law said to her that when you work with people with mental health challenges, you actually end up being a bit mental. Yeah. And I'd like to challenge that by saying that if we put into place this stuff here, that won't happen to us, right? If we don't put it into place, if we don't have boundaries, we're going to end up on, needing some mental health care ourselves, won't we?
Do you have a really good relationship with her?
Okay, we're going to stop there.
No.
All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. Yes. Question here from Mara.
She brought up that prior to this work, my cousin names, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And they were saying, Mara, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I said, sending me to tell.
Yeah.
And one of them said, I hope when you finish, you don't
end up
having.
Yeah. Okay. So the question was the comment was just that Mara was saying that some of her relations are worried that she's studying certificate for in mental health, that she might end up having some mental health issues as well. If we learn what we're supposed to learn in this, we will be fine, won't we? Yeah. All right. So that's good. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next question, everybody, which is number 6. All right, and we're going to have a break in about 7 minutes' time. Okay, question 6. How can you establish a professional working relationship with a person who has a mental illness or disorder? All right. All right, let's start with Palm. Alan, just some thoughts off the top of your head from people at Palm there. How can you establish a professional working relationship with a person who's got a mental illness or disorder? Over to you, Alan.
Be genuine.
Beg your pardon?
Be very, very genuine.
Listen with
Yeah.
Listen without being judgmental.
Yeah. Genuine, gentle.
Listen without being judgmental.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. That's very good. All right.
Make sure that you try and keep track of what conversations you've had with them, even if they're on your shift. So.
We heard conversations. Just say that one more time, please, about the conversations.
Make,
that have told you, reiterate it, listen to everything.
Yeah. So listen to everything that they say and make sure that you've actually heard them, because they won't remember.
Yeah. Perfect.
They will.
All right. So we're going to summarise back to them what we think they've said, basically things like that, paraphrasing and just show. And we'll talk about that later in this unit. All right. So very good. All right. Thanks very much, Alan and Palm. And Mara, what did you say just before in answer to this question? Yeah. Respect. All right. Respect is really good. Okay. And just a couple of points from the guys in Mount Isa Junior.
Setting boundaries.
Yep, setting boundaries. Okay, obviously that's what we're talking about, which is great. Any other points?
Yep,
there?
and
yep.
Yeah, building a trustworthy relationship.
Yeah, building a trusting relationship. Excellent. All right. All right, so you can put some of your own in there, into that question, in that answer, I should say. If you want more, page 28 and 29. In fact, I'm going to want you to write these down. You can write your own in there too, but I need you to write these ones down. Page 28 and 29, there's quite a lot of them there. There's 11 points. Let me just have a look and just see if I can make that a bit smaller for you. Actually, I'm sorry. Because I'm not getting you to write one-line summaries. Could you write the whole lot, please? All right, all of those 11 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And as we mentioned about copy and paste, I don't know whether you're going to copy and paste. It's completely your conscience that's going to deal with that. I don't know about you, but when I'm typing something or writing it down, I'm actually learning. So I'll leave that up to you. But if you're rushing for time, go ahead and cut and paste. Having said that, I'll just go back and say what I said before. You won't learn by just cutting and pasting, all right? So those 11 points. And any others that you want to add yourself is okay. All right, question 7 with another 4 minutes to go. Building relationships with clients will be vital in your role in community services. So we're in community services. List the appropriate communication and relationship building processes you will need to do this. All right, so this is where we're going back to what we said a moment ago, some of the things, some of the communication techniques that we're going to use to help us to build those relationships. Go to page 31 and 32 in your learner resource. All right. All right, so everybody got those 2 pages? Now you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dot points on pages 31 and 32. I would like you, please, to write not all of that, but the headings on each one. Right, so we want first dot point, collaborative consultation. And I'm going to ask you there to write a 1-line summary of what that paragraph says. So, for example, collaborative consultation is what you'll be writing as your first dot point. And then a 1-liner would be something like working with the person collaboratively and consulting with them about what they want. All right? For every dot point. All right? So you're going to put down collaborative consultation, empathy, engagement, giving hope, and then give me a 1-liner which tells me what that is. So if you're unsure, read that paragraph and summarize it. All right, just to summarize that again, you're going to come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, I said 9 before. You're going to come up with 10 dot points, and you're going to have 1-line explanation after each one of those. Yeah. All right, so everybody's got that written down. Let's have a really quick, just in the last 2 minutes before we have a break. Collaborative consultation, basically we understand that. Empathy, that's pretty a no-brainer. Engagement, that's a no-brainer. Giving hope, we talked about that before. Listening and responding to the person's verbal and non-verbal. One of the things that we don't do sometimes is acknowledge their non-verbal, and then other times it's really obvious what their non-verbal means. So we need to be engaging such that we're reading both their verbal and non-verbal. Non-judgmental and sensitive approach, we know about that. Rapport building, we know about that. Respect, valuing and responding the uniqueness of each person. All right, so that means if you have a look, if you need to, and there's at least one person in this group, if you haven't got 3 people that you can use, you'll find in the learner, if you look on the screen now, the case study and observation demonstration material, if I click in there and open that, and I've got this handout for you guys here, we've got 3 people. So we've got David on the first page, we've got Egan on the second page, and we've also got Sam, not their real names. And you can use those ones there for anything that you need. But just in respect to page 32 on the learner resource, valuing and responding to the uniqueness of each person, each of those 3 people who are real people, you have to, as you probably are aware when you're dealing with, let's say 3 people, you know that each of them is really different, right? They're all different, they're all unique. What works for one person, not necessarily going to work for somebody else. All right, so I'll come out of that. Ooh. Go back into here. All right, So that's question 7. And let's have a 15-minute break, everybody. So just have a look at your watches, add 15 onto that, be back in time. Thanks, everyone. Look at your watch, 15 minutes time. Yep. Oh, wow. Take time sheets from previous. Yeah, that's all. That's fine. No, time sheets. Yeah, all right. If you, yeah, and if you could maybe get your supervisor to sign off on those places. Right. Yeah, all right. So, look, are you still in contact with that supervisor each year?
I didn't know that supervisor was working on it.
Yeah, but you've got to have somebody that is up on.
And so that's the thing with this one now, which is funny as saying it because I'm a team leader.
Yeah.
The company,
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, did he get lost? Yeah, and he was only like, they just posting all these.
Somebody's going to upload somewhere.
Yeah, they're just uploading photos of it. Oh, so you're like, that's my phone.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And do you want me to ask Christine to send me this through again, or do you want
have you got the? Oh, you want the electronic copy?
As I said, I did last time.
All right. Yeah. Electronically.
No, yeah, to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Remember
fine.
how I did it last time?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like ancient history.
And did you get my email?
No.
I sent it to your job training thing. It was an apology for last week. I was so stressed.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I sent it to your job trainer because I haven't got it.
Okay, I'll give you the new one. I can just right now. Yeah, it should actually revert over to this, but I didn't get it. So it's just training mental health, one word, at selectability.com.au.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, I had no idea. So you must start all weekend, every weekend lately. It's just like one was like bring me up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Yes, I can imagine. Yeah. Hello. Okay, have you got any barriers that you... All right, so do you need any help with just put nil. You don't need any help there, that's all good. Just sign there, I'll sign this. Sign in for today. Yes. Good. So good. Just sign that. Yeah, that's good.
I've bought some lemonade and they seem to give it to the office lady. I'll go down there and I'll eat. But maybe the good one was now and the good one
You can actually do that. Yeah.
actually,
I was going to say pretty much.
well, the money there's no way to put money in the fridge. Yeah, oh yeah, because I don't want them to get to the thing because I actually forgot about it until I wanted to buy the short the whole last week about was making up. Yes.
That's what I think. Yeah, just on a, I usually put it there, even though. No, I'll do it on here and I'll just run out and I'll do it. I won't be. I don't do this work. Oh, yes. Well, I'm extra on the board. So, like today. So sometimes, like, just depending on what it is, what today was like, yeah. Last week I got asked to yes. Yeah, I'm not going to, you know, oh, if I'm not like, is that if I'm not here, if I'm not going to be here, I'll let you know. But,
You know, that's another thing that's really pushed me to like psychology. Is your whole team with your highlight thing. So you don't have that support. That's amazing, isn't it?
No, it's just it's
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, yes, yeah.
So was it after meeting me that you sort of that you wanted to go down there? Yeah.
actually through.
You would have got me. I actually got
That's me too. Yeah, yeah, the ones you activate. I don't go into that one that says you should went scan because of those. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You'll find it redirects you to anything starting with BTY. Yeah. Where's that one?
Oh, Bitly. Yeah.
So you got almost rewards like and then it'll come up.
Oh,
Yeah. And then you just activate it.
Who was it that was saying it worked for the dot points on LMS? And you help my friend Puri? Because she doesn't know how to do it. She's stuck.
I used to use that when we were doing uni exams and I would get some stuff done.
Oh,
So that's why I've only got 3 minutes to do the same way I will do this for stuff. I almost had this week's finished, but I needed to go to the presentation class.
Oh, this week was massive.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where you've done all the rest of the course.
Oh,
it's like, yeah, there we go. Okay.
I don't
You
know.
go back.
At 2
You
a.m.
have to go into one of the
I did it from,
assessments.
Yeah.
I finished off.
Oh yeah, go to that top one. Right.
5, I've got the TV on and was watching the chase.
See.
And
Come down.
I had the only other thing I did
Alright,
was
see.
Click on,
No, see.
click on any of them.
Now let's do the short answer one.
All right.
So if you do say,
Okay. So yeah. So if you
Yeah.
you know blah 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 whatever your
yeah,
first thing is,
yeah. Can you do a
hit
sub
enter.
dot?
Oh no, you've already clicked it. So you don't click it.
Okay.
So you're typing in where it says do a whole bit of a spiel.
Mhm.
Just go enter.
Mm.
Now click here.
Mm.
And then each time you type something, go to your next line. Type something, go to your next
So
line.
he said the first dot point. So that should be the first dot point, and then you
Yeah,
do
but
the
some
sub.
of them you've got to do a summary first, and then you're doing the dot points.
Yeah, like he says, like remember when he says like do
Yeah, like you can
dot
do
point, and then sub dot point. Yeah, and then another dot point. So there.
Oh yeah, well,
one
see,
and two,
I just put
and then
one
another
A.
sub. Yeah.
I did 1A. So you go, whatever your question is. So 1A.
So it's not a dot point.
Oh.
No, and then you
cannot
do your
drop
dot
it.
points.
Yeah,
And that'll keep going.
because that's what I did.
But
with
if
my
you only want
assessment.
2, then you double click.
Mm.
Go delete this and do this one. Then you can go, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
And hit the dot point again. And then if there's 4 in that row, then you do 4.
Yeah, because that's what I tried, like putting the dot point, because that's what I did. I did that because I was not able to drop
I
down
named them
the
all.
sub one.
I don't even know if they're in front of me, but because they're on the previous one, it's 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
And then the dot point is those sub.
It's the next sub, it's a dot point, but you're summarising your answer to the start. And then the dot points are in.
Because I was like, if you write that, and then that's a first dot point, and say the second dot point is that, and it says on the second dot point, put 4 sub dot points.
Or if you were writing a summary after that,
Yeah,
just
like
go like
do
that,
Oh, that's cute.
and then
You cannot
so
do a
there's
dot.
your answer.
Yeah, you cannot do a dot.
You can't do 2 double dot points in,
Yeah.
in the same dot.
Because it's
A dot point is a dot point.
Yes. You cannot do a sub dot.
Unless you have, I don't know if this works.
I tried even going there.
Oh, were you in there? You know how to
Just take it of my computer anytime you like.
Yeah, we will.
Sure.
Show more buttons.
By the way, if you're standing there, you have to present the rest of the class.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have your little circle ones and stuff like that. So
I looked everywhere and I'm like,
Oh, you're trying to work out how to do
Yeah.
the
no,
dot
no, no.
The
I was
sub
just
dot
saying
points.
to her that like the questions originally from last week's is 1A, 1B, whatever.
Yeah.
Do that, do your summary, then you do your dot points.
So underneath that, it's a summary.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to say when you say do 2 dot points and then sub dot point on the second one,
Right.
you cannot do a
Okay. No, okay.
second one.
No, okay.
there's more you
Okay, yep, I'm with you. Okay, 6:30, 15 minutes later. Yeah. All right, everybody, so let's get back on track. All right, Joe. Dear. All right. Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. So question 8, everybody. Interactions with clients with a mental health issue can be a little strained at times due to the nature of the issue. However, there are some things that should be 2 words, some things that should always remain the same. They include at all times showing clients what. Okay, let's go to page 38 in your learner resource. All right, so 4 dot points there. So we should be always showing them warmth, openness, care, and authenticity. And you can write the whole lot there for each of those 4, everything that's on those 4, please. So those things, we just do that naturally, I hope. I hope we're in the industry because we are those kinds of people. We're warm, open, caring, and authentic. Excellent, so that's 8. Number 9, what can micro skills assist in? Okay, micro skills. Let's go to page 40 in the learner resource. So page 40, you see the dot points at the bottom there? Okay, go above that one paragraph where it says the first skills. Everybody got that? Mm-hmm. The first skills you'll need to have are called micro skills. Micro skills are a set of fundamental competencies which will assist in the communication process. Now, might I just say that most of us have got these micro skills anyway, but we can always be working on them and improving them. All right, so here they are. Building rapport, influencing decisions. I want you to write in your books after that second one. So it says influencing decisions. I want you to add in there, but not manipulating. All right. Now, give you an example on that. Let's say we think that somebody should take a certain course of action, which seems just logical to us. We still have to give them options of what they could do, right? And the choice is theirs. We can give pros and cons on each of those choices, but the ultimate decision is theirs, isn't it?
Is that whole risk assessment?
No, not really.
Risk management, I should say.
It's part of risk management in that you can't, if you give people advice, you can be legally liable. Because if they act on that advice and you say that's what you have to do, then it can come back on you, right? So the decision must always be theirs. Yeah, cool. All right, next one. Deciphering reasons. So, okay, this is conversations we're having with them. Why do they want to do such and such? So we might need to have a conversation with them about, okay, it might be something that is not good for them. So we just have a conversation about that with them, you know, and find out what their reasons are. And they might be valid reasons. There might be another way of doing it. We might finally decide, because they've argued well, that actually our initial thought against that idea, we need to change it. Let them do what we initially thought wasn't good.
They're going to do what they want to do anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Because I know I have it quite often with different ones I work with marijuana and different things like
Yeah.
that, you know.
Yeah, so Frances is talking about using marijuana and whether, you know, and she's saying they're going to do it anyway, some of them. However, obviously we know.
And I had that conversation with, you know, this couple of people in there, but their reasons are like it helps, you know, voices and
okay, yes. Obviously our boundaries are that we can't do a shift with them while they're under the influence of anything. But they're still going to do that when they're not on shift with us. Some Francis said they normally do it as soon as they finish the shift. There you go. All right, so keeping on going, making a clear point. So these are micro skills. So we need to get to the nub of what are we trying to say, making a clear point. Demonstrating empathy, assisting a client in realizing their feelings. So sometimes even we don't really know why we're feeling what we're feeling. So it's just getting to having that conversation and saying, okay, what's actually going on with you? Let's talk about that for a while. You know, so it's just discovering what their real feelings are. Relationship building, putting professional boundaries in place, provide a feeling of non-judgment and acceptance, gaining awareness. So it's one of our key roles. Like, I'll just give you an example of probably not exactly what this is about, but one of the things that I find constantly with the people that I work with is that they don't have a real understanding of social skills. And so they're not used to interacting with a whole bunch of people in society. and we have to remind them sometimes to be polite, to ask things nicely, etc. You know, that sort of thing. So that's gaining an awareness, one aspect of that. Successful interventions, right? So we need to sometimes successfully intervene in situations where we're not taking over, but we're just asking some questions that will intervene and maybe bring about a different conclusion. Assisting positive change, building trust. All right, so they're micro skills. Now, let me explain very carefully how we're going to answer this question. So question 9, by the way, Jo needs to hear this when she comes back. So Francis, can you take note of this and just let her know when she comes back? Question 9, we're going to do all 13 dot points for underneath micro skills on page 40. So all 13 dot points, list them all down with no explanation, right? But there's more. But wait, there's more. All right. Now, in addition to those 13, you will notice on page 41, see it says attending behaviours, it's one of the headings. The line above that says it is essential for all counsellors, we're not counsellors, but support workers, to build their skills in the following micro skills. So attending behaviours. So we're going to add that one in as number 14. And we're only going to start here. The heading becomes the dot point. So, yep. So dot point 14 is attending behaviours, and just for these last 4, only for these 4, sorry, 5, there's 5, one over there on page 43. Just for these 5, we are actually going to give a 1-line summary. So what is attending behaviours? Right. Is everybody clear on what we're doing? So we're on page 41.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Page 40 is the 13 dot points, right? Turn the page to 41.
Yeah.
The first one you've got there is attending behaviours, right? Now that is another dot point.
Yeah.
So this, what has been a heading in there becomes a dot point, attending behaviours. Only for these next 5 that we're going to talk about now, you're going to do a 1-line explanation of what that is. Right, so for example, it says attending behaviours are those that demonstrate that you are interested and currently fully focused and engaged in the things that the client is saying. So you're going to summarise that and say attending behaviours means something like I'm attending to them while I'm with them. Right? Right. So that's a micro skill. Next one, questioning skills. That's dot point number 15.
Can you step back for a second, sorry?
Yep.
When you say the 5 dot points.
Yeah, they're not dot points yet. They're headings. Yes, you walked out. And Francis, I told Francis to tell you what you've missed.
So 15 is attending behaviours.
No. 14 is attending behaviours. 14. You've got 13 dot points on page 40.
Yeah.
Number 14 is attending behaviours. So the heading becomes a dot point. Yep, yep. And you're doing, only for these next ones, attending behaviours, you are doing an explanation. Next one, questioning skills. You're going to do, that's number 15 dot point, and you're going to do a bit of an explanation on that one. Thank you, Jane. All right. So a little one there, you know, something like, I'm just reading this and just getting it off the top of my head. We need to have strong questioning skills so that the person, so that in conversation the person is able to get what they want from us as a support worker, basically, right? So we need to be able to question them skillfully. We get better and better at that so that we find out what it is that they actually want. The next dot point, so that's 13, 14, 15, 16. Number 16 dot point, client observation skills. And it's just something simple like observing the client during the shift will tell us how they're going, basically. All right? Simple like that. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16. Number 17 will be noting and reflecting skills. So let's just have a read underneath that. Noting and reflecting is making a particular point of part of the story that the client has told you and asking them to reflect on exactly how that action or circumstance made them feel. So you're watching them, it becomes apparent to you that that's something that is a bit emotional for them, and therefore you want to tease that out a bit. You want to kind of help them. You want to support them to get through whatever that issue is. So you're going to note it and reflect on it. So you're actually going to say something like, an example underneath it says, when your brother said that to you, how did that make you feel? Right, so it's actually getting them to really think more about what they've just said, right? With a view to helping them a bit more. Okay.
There's no wonder I'm confused. My book goes from page 41 to page 57. Yes, that's why I'm not catching up with this, mate. I'm losing it, and that's why.
Oh, you're missing some pages.
I think that's missing. There might be somewhere else.
Because yeah, there's 40,
Yeah, they are. They've all been mixed up with this 47. This one.
All right, use the other one.
Thanks, Rick.
The other person that's got the bound copy, who's that?
Me.
Right, and yours is okay.
Yours okay so
All right.
far.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think we're up to, that was 16, and then over the page is 17. So we're on page 43 now. Page 43, and it says providing client feedback. Right, and just underneath that, so I'm going to summarize what I'm about to read. It says it can assist, this is on page 43, it can assist the process to provide the client with feedback and encouragement on how they're doing and the progress that they have made. It's essential that they feel that they're doing well throughout the entire process.
18 dot.
Sorry?
Is that 18 dot? 18.
Was it 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? Yeah, so that's 18 dot points. It's a lot. And you're doing the last 5 with a 1-sentence summary. Yeah, so I was just going to give an illustration there. For example, with David, one of the 3 guys, that's not his real name. If he had done really well with something and you could see that improvement, well, I made a comment about it and he felt really good about it, that he, that he was doing well, something that he wanted to improve in. And so I made that comment, yeah, you're really doing well with that. I've noticed that. All right, let me just check in. Alan, everything going well at Palm?
Yes.
Good, okay. And Junior, everything in Mount Isa all right? Mount Isa there? Hello? Can you...
Microphone. We're good.
Okay, cool. All good? All right, thanks, mate. Okay, number 10. No, 10. Yep. Number 10, there are many different types of anxiety disorders which all have different symptoms. I don't know why they chucked this one in, because it's sort of, I don't know why. All right, but anyway, it won't hurt to go over it. What are some of the characteristics of these disorders? So page 44 and 45, you've got 6 dot points over those 2 pages, 44 and 45. So you've got generalized anxiety disorder, specific phobias, social phobia, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, and panic disorder. So please give me 6 dot points, 1 sentence summary. Yeah, the 6 dot points. Yeah, and it won't hurt to become familiar with. So they're all under the heading of anxiety. There's a whole bunch of stuff under anxiety. Don't write out the whole thing. Just give me a 1-sentence summary. Yeah. Okay. All good. Okay, number 11. If you find in the assessment, now do we do assessments? You have, because you're a team leader, all right? And Roseanne in Palm would do assessments, maybe? Do you, Roseanne? Let's keep talking. It'll become apparent what kind of assessment is. Basically an assessment of where the person's at. And I know when I was team leader in Charters Towers, Roseanne, we were doing, like, we had an initial entry-level questionnaire that we did with them, and that was sort of an assessment. So that's not still being done, is it, Roseanne, as far as I know?
I do a really casual one with support coordination.
Yeah.
But assessments here are casual.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's usually at the team leader level that assessments are made, assessments of people, where they're at and what diagnosis they might have and all that sort of thing. The team leader does that and then lets the people, the support workers, know what's going on, basically. But having said that, let's go back to 11. If you find in the assessment that the requirements of the client are outside the scope of responsibility, who might be appropriate people to include? All right, so let's redefine assessment there. Let's say assessment. You know, when you're, just look up here for a sec, everybody, and from Palm and Mount Isa. So we're going to define assessment here as you're interacting with the person and you're assessing where they're at on that shift. All right. So if we find that we're out of depth on our shift, that's what the question's asking. Who do we go to for help? Right.
Yes,
Supervisor is your first port of call, right? If we're out of depth, we don't make that decision without reference to the team leader. All right, so let's go to page 55. And you'll find that under referrals there, you got a whole bunch of dot points. Supervisor is the first dot point, right? First cab off the rank. If he or she tells you to take them somewhere else, then it'll be one of those other dot points, probably, right? So just the dot points, list them down, including the supervisor. Yes, please. I'm doing that because you may not be working with some of them, and that might be good that you know that what the whole list of them are. It's probably not even an exhaustive list anyway. The third one is an interesting one, sex therapist. Do we take people to sex therapists?
No. Yeah, but we drop them off.
We can. We can take them, you know, we don't have to go and sit in with them.
Yeah, but you take them.
Yeah, we can take them, yeah, because that's a valid, if that's what they want, that's what happens, you know. A prostitute, yeah, we can take them to, if, you know, we, you know, and I'm not saying one way or the other how I feel, but we may not want to do that. That might go against the grain, but that's what they want, so that's what where we go.
You can do that but not take them to the pub.
Because we have a policy in selectability that we won't give shifts to people who are under the influence of a drug. We can take them to the pub, provided they don't drink.
I take them.
Yep.
Lunch.
Yeah. Go for lunch.
I take it one and she's had a few breaks. She doesn't get intoxicated.
No, we can't do that. We have to finish the shift. If they rock up to the shift and they're under the influence, we can't do the shift with them. All right. Fine. Let's keep going, everybody. Otherwise, we're going to get bogged down. So question 12. This is a new concept. Fair manner may be subject to influences such as what? So let's look on page 57. I have never heard this in the context of selectability or other organisations. Have you heard of it, June? All right. So anybody from Mount Isa or Palm heard of the concept fair manner?
No.
Okay.
Nah.
That's right.
Okay, thanks. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to write the whole thing out. When I say the whole thing, that first paragraph underneath. So what I read now is part of the answer. It simply means that there is no discrimination or unjust questions or actions during the assessment, right? Remembering that I said assessment is you're looking at them during the shift and you're interacting with them. For example, a person should not be judged on things such as their language if they're unable to answer a question. An interpreter should be provided in that circumstance. Now, this is more relevant probably down in Melbourne, Sydney, stuff like that. But, you know, some people actually have struggled, and I'm not having a go at anybody here, but they struggle with the accent on Palm, for example. You know, so some help might be needed there. That's probably not a very good example because, no, it's not a good example. Yeah, so we can't, yeah, again, it's not, we're not going to be discriminatory at all right? So if English is not their first language, then it would be unfair to ask questions in English, right? So we're going to deal with things in a fair manner. That's what it means. Just in a fair way of doing things. That's all it means. Now, The question though, all right, so you've just defined it by writing out that paragraph. I need you to write that please in the answer. But the actual answer is the next part. Fair manner may be subject to influences such as, yes, a person's comprehension of assessment requirement due to, all right? So leave out that main dot point, the black dot point, and just put the white dot points. So language difference, values difference, cultural difference, cognitive impairment, nature of the disability, all right? So we probably do deal with, I know we do, deal with people who have at least one of those things, but we still got to deal with them in a fair manner. We're not going to discriminate on the basis of any of those. Now, I've asked you to leave out that first black dot point, and you'll notice up on the top of page 58, there's 3 other dot points, black dot points. The white dot points under the first black dot point, go with that. So they're the first dot points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the other 3, all right? So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot points. So the next 3, provision of adequate time for the person's response. So we don't rush them, hurry them unnecessarily. Provision of an appropriate environment. For them, it may not be appropriate to be talking where they are talking. You know, they want to give you, they want to be in an environment that's more comfortable for them. So we have to provide that. Provision of appropriate communication support and devices. So, you know, again, that's probably about language if we need an interpreter or something like that. So try and get your head around fair manner. It's basically anti-discrimination, right? It's dealing with people in a fair manner, in a fair way. Yeah, Mara.
With this black dot, you have to explain?
No, you don't have to explain anything. Just write it down. Yep. So no explanation on those dot points for question number 12. Question 13. Organisations, programs, services and support for a client will depend on the treatment needed. What might services include? This is a very simple answer. Go to page 63. You can just give me those dot points on page 63. Community services, community workers, outpatient services, support groups, GPs, specific mental health organisations. I think most of us know that without even reading those dot points, but you can just take it off there. All right, we're powering through. Number 14. List the central fundamental elements of a recovery approach. Now, we touched on it last week. Does anybody remember writing about recovery?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go into it in more depth. So let's go to page 68. By the way, is recovery, just a question for all of us, is recovery the same for everybody? Okay, why is recovery not the same, June, for everybody? Because everybody's different. Yep, everybody's recovery journey is a different journey. All right, so what's recovery for person A is going to be a different recovery for person B. Yep. All right, so let's read. This is not the answer to the question, but the box at the bottom of page 68 says this. What is recovery? Recovery is personal, individual, and unique. So we might think that they're not really recovered. Well, first of all, does recovery mean cure? No, all right? So somebody with a psychosis is always going to have to take medication. Right? So it doesn't mean that they're going to come off their medication. Recovery means basically living the best life possible under the circumstances, right? And actually, we're all doing that. We've all got our own set of circumstances and issues, maybe not as much as what they've got, but we're all dealing with our own issues. So we're actually in recovery from stuff that's happened to us as well in the past.
So like somebody that's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And then 30 days in the care.
Yeah. Somebody who's a...
Take it back to the pub.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, so recovery for an alcoholic means making a commitment themselves not to go back to pubs, not to drink, to get out of that social circle, that sort of thing, you know, whatever's going to work for them. So you've got person A is an alcoholic, person B has schizophrenia, right? So recovery for them is going to be taking the medication, you know, increasing their social circle, maybe getting a job for person A, not getting a job for person B, whatever. Yeah, everybody's different. All right, so going on with the second dot point, people can and do recover from mental illness. I want you to put in there, right in there, with a psychosis, it needs medication.
ESYCOSIS. Or I just wrote it my way. I know how it is. Okay, needs medication.
All right. I'm saying that because in some cases, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, they can recover to the point where they're not doing it anymore without medication, whereas a psychosis, they won't get better without medication. Right? They must take medication. Third point. Okay, remembering this is not the answer, but I'm getting you to write down some things because of your learning. Third point, recovery and cure do not mean the same thing. People can and do live well with the presence of symptoms of mental illness. Number 4, recovery is supported by collaborative partnerships in which key partners develop facilitative relationships to meet individual consumers' needs. All right? In other words, we're working with other people like GPs, psychiatrists, psychologists, Tom's Tavern, if we, no, we don't go there anymore. Sorry, I was thinking Morning Melodies.
No, they're at RSL.
Oh, RSL. Tuesday Tunes, yeah, things like that, you know. Yeah. Sorry, I've been out of the industry a bit.
Inspire Clubhouse.
Inspire Clubhouse, things like that.
Things, you know, voices, and they have set programs too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now that's Townsville. Tell me about Mount Isa Junior. What other things have you got there? Collaborative partnerships. What things are available? Sorry to cut you on the hop there, Junior.
That's all right.
What's some places that you can that you do in Mount Isa have as collaborative partnerships for your consumers, your clients?
We have Headspace, mental health.
Yeah.
Young People Ahead, PCYZ, ATOP, quite a few.
Awesome, excellent. Right, thanks very much, Junior. And Alan, what about over there on Palm?
Yeah, we've got ICANN, Centre Care, and we have SOS that comes and joins the men group.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays, Tuesdays. Mental health, rehabilitation, medication.
Excellent. Okay, great. Good, thanks, Alan. Okay. Next point, health workers must embrace the potential for recovery in their approach to practice. In other words, we are always taking it from a recovery point of view when we're working with all of our clients. Yeah. There is no time frame set for an individual's recovery journey. Everyone's recovery journey is unique. Now, just to put a caveat on that, a proviso, when we work with an individual plan, I know this is true in selectability. I don't know about, do you have time limits on yours, Jill? On your individual plans? Okay, right, time guidelines, yeah, in June, yeah. Okay, so we sort of have an idea, we put something down, but it's very flexible. All right, so with us guys, if we do use a wrap, it's going to be 3 months.
Yeah, it's 3 months or 6 months.
3 months or 6 months, yeah. It's a guide. Yeah, it's a guide, yeah. All right. Okay, and the last one, recovery is not an intervention, and professionals cannot do recovery to people. All right, so it's, yeah, all right. Now, the answers are on the next 2 pages, 69, 70. So looking at the question again, list the central fundamental elements of recovery approach are all of these things. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, could you list all 10 with a 1-line explanation? So we're going to give them self-direction. It's going to be individualized and person-centered. We're going to empower them. It's going to be holistic. It's going to be non-linear. It's not a step-by-step quick process. It's one based on continual growth. So it's just like our lives, actually. Our lives are not linear. It's strengths-based. It's based on their strengths. Peer support. It's actually working with other people like them. It's about respect. It's about responsibility. That one on responsibility is interesting because, okay, if we do the work for them, they're not actually learning responsibility for their own lives. So support means working with them, as I said before, and they are taking responsibility for their own life. They're directing their own life. Leonie.
One line explanation is a summary of the whole thing.
Of the whole paragraph. So self-direction. Yeah, so you're going to have a dot point self-direction with a one-line explanation.
I always put one-line sentence, but it means like you take it from all that paragraph.
Yeah, so for example, self-direction, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 4 lines there.
Yeah.
Just summarise those 4 lines into one sentence. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just put it in your own words. Yeah. Okay, that's 14. We've got 3 more to go, and then we'll go on to the next assessment. Okay, number 15. Everybody ready to go on?
Yeah.
Number 15, an action plan is always goal-oriented and needs to do what? Okay, go to page 75. The dot points there, you can just take it exactly from those dot points. So an action plan is always, now, sorry, just look up here for a second. Action plan, think individualized plan, think RAP, right? Something that we work on, not the NDIS plan, not the big one, something that we work on with them on a daily basis, right? It's going to be these dot points. It's going to promote recovery rather than only try to minimize the illness. First dot point. It's going to be based on the person's own goals and aspirations. So write all of those down, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As they are, and that's the answer.
Bless you.
Bless you. Okay, we're all good with that?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to question 16. What does accountability mean? All right. This one, even when I reread this again this afternoon, I thought, oh my goodness, it's going to be hard to explain, but for some reason, maybe because I just ate a Mars bar, it's
Really didn't share.
in my break.
Didn't share.
I needed it, guys. It actually is totally understandable. Let me just, before we have a read of that paragraph, which is going to be the answer to that paragraph, but before we have that, just watch here for a second. It's, so for example, a lot of the clients that we work with, most of them work under an NDIS funding. We as an organisation have accountability to account for the hours that we are delivering on their behalf, right? So that money comes out of their NDIS funding. So we're accountable to the funding body, the NDIS, or NDIA, is it probably, to say, okay, how we spent that money, right? And we need to also be able to say to our guys, I know with David, one of these guys here, he thought that when he got the NDIS package, all that money would be his. Let's say, and it was a huge package, it was about $143,000. He thought he'd be he'd go and spend $143,000. And so we had to have this long conversation about, no, that money is to help with paying the wages for people like me who's supporting you, you know? And he said, but you guys, you know, there's going to be a lot of money left over after you guys are paid. And I said, do you realize how much it costs every year to actually support you? And we worked it out over a week, the wages, you know, let alone the on costs and things like that. So actually from that conversation, I started to realize, my goodness, you know, I'm actually costing a lot of money. You know what I mean? You know. No.
We've done the same thing. I've worked with she was Adam, but
Yeah, it's not a money tree, is it? They think it's a money tree, all right? So it's actually a neat conversation to have with people, just to try and see if they get it. Any comments on that? Any funny comments you want to make, Palm or Mount Isa, or serious comments? All good?
No, we're good.
Okay.
What was it?
Sorry, Alan?
What was the question, sorry?
Oh, just, you know, some people not understanding, you know, that they're, let's say their massive NDIS funding actually has to go towards paying the wages of the people that are supporting them. They didn't realise that all that money's got to pay for wages, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. All right. Let's go back to the question itself then. So the answer, you can just write exactly what the paragraph says.
Page 80.
This is page 80. Accountability. So the question is, what does accountability mean? This is the range of factors and aspects that an organisation and its workers must be responsible for. In other words, our vehicles, our out-of-pocket expenses, our wages, our overheads. This may include factors such as appropriate resource and financial management. So all our organisations have got an accountant, they have to be paid. And delivering services to a client in a particular manner. It is essential that the client knows what the accountability of the organisation is. So, right, that's the conversation we just talked about. The accountability of the organisation that I know, Selectability, is that we have to provide services to that person. And that's going to cost money in regards to them, and the service that is delivered, and that workers are aware of how they can demonstrate this accountability and collect the correct evidence in order to effectively do so. So the correct evidence for lifestyle support workers would be that we are actually delivering the services. We're signing off on our timesheets every week that we actually delivered those services. We're writing OP notes. So there's evidence that we've actually delivered on that funding, right? So that's what all that paragraph means in very high level language. That's what it means, all right? But it makes a lot more sense to read that high level language when you've had a Mars bar, I just want to tell you, okay? The blood sugar. Bad joke, dad joke. Number 17. What is the strengths-based approach to working with clients? Go back to page 69. You will have already written this down in an answer to...
On page 80. And you want us to write that paragraph down on accountability.
All right, so we're going back to question 16. Accountability, it's that whole paragraph on page 80. That's the answer.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, now.
Pardon? We're now going to page 69 to answer question 17. All right, now, I thought about not making you answer this one a second time because you've already answered it in question 14. Pardon? I changed my mind. Joe, just because I had you in mind and I thought she needs to learn this better. All right, so specifically to answer question 17, what is the strength-based approach to working with clients? Let's have a look on page 69, 3 up from the bottom. Strengths-based. It focuses on valuing and building on the person's multiple strengths, resiliency, coping abilities, inherent worth, and capabilities. So we said before, every person is an individual. They all have different strengths. So we work with those strengths. And that's the end of questions. Pretty happy with that? Let's go. All right, let's quickly, before we lose momentum, go on to question 9 with the new assessment. Alan, just go back to observation demonstration, not the checklist, the actual page before the checklist. Got that on?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Yep.
The page number first.
Yeah, question 9. I mean, page 9.
Yes.
So page 9.
Page
Yep.
9,
And
observation.
Junior, you've got the new or the old assessments? You there, Junior?
Sorry? Yeah, sorry.
Is yours on page 9, the observation demonstration?
We don't have page.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, we printed the observation demonstration role plays?
Yeah, no, not that. No, this is actually in the assessment book.
We don't have assessment books.
You don't have it in front of you?
Nope.
Never been given it.
Okay, so you want to do that next time? Actually, all have an assessment book in front of you?
We don't have it at all. We've never been received one.
Can you, so you can can you print off the LMS?
Oh, is it in the LMS?
So it's this one that I'm talking about right now is assessment task 5.
So it's on the LMS, yeah?
Yeah, on the LMS.
Yeah, okay. Most of us are you on the LMS.
Sorry, Junior?
Most of us are following you on the LMS. I actually think we all are.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm just having trouble changing to the new system, including that.
That's all right.
Purity, what's that?
Oh, so what are we looking at?
You're looking at assessment task number 5?
Logbook?
No. Wait a minute. What's that?
Yeah.
Sorry, wait a minute. Yes, I'm in the wrong. Thanks, Purity. Hang on just a minute, Junior. Wrong unit. Yeah, bad. Okay, it's task 3. Sorry, my apologies.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, okay. And you can do this too, Alan, if you wanted to. All right. So just have a read with this. So up here it says, for this assessment, you will need to establish self-directed recovery relationships in a workplace environment during your period of 80 hours work in the community services. All right, so just stop there for a second, look here for a minute. So the whole idea of this unit and the other 2 units that we're doing the logbook for is that you're doing 80 hours of placement, you know, whether that be your regular job or you're actually going to be placed if you're not working in the industry, which you should be anyway. All right, that having been said, let's look at the second paragraph. During your 80 hours of work in the community services, you are required to establish and maintain self-directed recovery relationships with at least 3 people with a mental illness. Okay, just hold that for a second. That's why on the LMS, you will find that there is a document about role plays. If I go back to that, it is up in the learning resource and other study materials. It is called case study and observation demonstration material. And you've got David, I think I've said this already, David, Egan and Sam, all right? So if you need 3 people, you don't want to use your own, if you haven't got your own, just do that. Okay, so going back into observation. All right. Okay, back up here. Throughout the process with each of the at least 3 clients, I just want you to do 3, you don't have to do 4. You will need to ensure that now, A down to J, we are actually going to role play on Thursday, all right? Having said that, and I'll read them in a minute, all of these are covered in the logbook, all right? So you're actually, and we're allowed to do that as a training organisation, we're going to assess you twice. Once it's going to be through the logbook, because a third-party person, your team leader, is going to sign off that you're actually doing this. Pardon? The logbooks are written. Exactly. And the role plays, so the logbooks are later or during this week and signed off at the end. This is going to happen on Thursday night, all right? Once you've done the other 2 assessments, so the one that we've just done, which is questions, I always start with questions at the back of the book, go backwards. Then I go to the front. Well, I'm talking about the observation demonstration now, the middle one. The first one, written activities. Sorry for you guys on the LMS, that is, I keep forgetting that you guys. So your assessment task 1, 2, and 3, and 4. No, assessment task 1, 2, 3, and they've got 2 tasks 2s. Well done. So anyway, those 4 that I'm looking at there, that's what we are calling with the hard copy and electronic written activity, right? All good with that? Totally confused? What was I going to say about that? Once you've done those 2 things that we're doing tonight, you should be able to, on Thursday night, come in with 3 people well, one person for you guys. You know how we did last week? You had to bring one person in your mind. Use the same person, right? The same person, right? So it's not hard. Those of you who weren't here last Thursday night, just think of somebody that you support and you're going to role play them, right? So that's the same for anybody in Mount Isa or Palm. You're going to role play that person. Your partner, you're going to be paired up, your partner, and it'll be different pairs, by the way. Just, yeah. One of you, like we did last time, you're going to play your client, and then you're going to swap around, okay? All right, and we're going to do these. So let's have a read through them. A, promote principles of recovery and recovery-oriented practice, all right? So you will have answered those questions or had a look at them, hopefully by tomorrow night, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to answer the question and have it to me on Thursday, but just have a quick skim through this in readiness for Thursday night's assessment, the role play. We went through recovery-oriented practice tonight, right? So you should be able to just skim that, have a look at it. Next one, demonstrate respect for clients by investing in the person and the relationship and considering contribution of the person's other relationships, life events, culture, and activities to the recovery process. That's a big one, and you're going to be doing that for 1 minute. So that's going to be very interesting, right? We don't have the time to take that more in depth, all right? C, create and maintain a safe, positive environment. Well, you'll be doing that just simply by using all those communication techniques that we talked about tonight. D, build an effective working relationship with the client, which is more of the same. E, use effective communication strategies such as active listening, paraphrasing, and open and closed questioning. So in that minute, I'll be specifically listening in that you are using active listening, that you are paraphrasing something that somebody said, saying in your own words back to them, and using open and closed questioning. So how does that make you feel? What, a who, when, where, why question, something like that makes them talk rather than a yes or no question. I'll talk about that more on Thursday. Define appropriate relationship guidelines. All right. So for example, I might set up that part of the role play and say, okay, they've just asked if they can wash your car with you on the weekend, right? The one that I mentioned, and what's your response going to be, right? So you're going to talk about, yes, well, it'll be interesting. How do you deal with that, right? Okay. All right, G, invite the person to tell their story and respond appropriately, all right? So you've probably been doing this already, but you're going to do it more. H, share information about the organisation and programs, services and support available, establish eligibility and priority for services, and refer as required, right? You're going to talk, you will have talked to your team leader about all this stuff, but for example, go back to the beginning of that, share information about the organisation and programs, all right? So in that 1 minute that you've got, you're saying this is what we can deliver for you, right? It's the first time that you've been with that person, you're having an initial conversation, and you're saying something like, and they're asking you, okay, what can you do for me? And we basically tell them, okay, we're going to do an individualized plan with you, and we're going to work on things that make you feel happy about life towards your recovery, right? So that's the service we can give to them and the support that's available, right? Stuff like that. 1 minute doesn't give you a lot of time. I, work collaboratively with the person to agree services and support options and ensure that the client is ready to participate. All right, so you're going to talk about, again, going on from H, what some of the things that we can provide, what services can we provide, and what are the options that around that. And J, follow all legislative requirements and organisational procedures, including all workplace documentation. All of us, I think, would have to write up notes, operational notes. We've got to follow, our duty of care, things like that. So legal responsibilities, that sort of thing. That's what we're talking about there. All right, let's move on from that. So that's what we're doing on Thursday night, and it's also part of our logbook. Let's go back to the written activity checklist, which for the LMS people, starting at the first assessment, which would be assessment task 1. Oh, hang on, that says induction pack. Let me just check and see what that's in there. Oh yeah, it is. All right, that's exactly what we want to see. Okay. All right, so this one, and we're going to get through this fairly quickly, and we will be at it. We've got to be not here another 10 minutes, you guys, right? So, but we'll be finished before 7:50 anyway, I can tell you. All right, so you're in the book. This is for all the people that are in the book. We're on page 4, all right? Or if you've got the old book, it might be a different page on Palm Island, but the heading is written activity. Yeah. Okay. Let's, before I frighten you with task 1, and it might be a little bit frightening, let's go to task number 2. Let's do all the things that you're not going to be doing. All right. So make you feel better before I go back to task 1. All right. Task number 2, and that might be the next assessment for you LMS people, I think. Assessment task 2. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great. All right, you guys know where you are. All right, so for this task, you must research each of the following topics and complete a basic report on your findings. The research topics are, now tell me if this rings a bell, legal and ethical considerations, yes. International, all right, codes of practice, discrimination and human rights, blah, 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 all right, all the way down to informed consent. We've done it. All right, now, in the LMS, as well as in the book, it says, as part of 1, it says, all covered last week, do not do this part. You don't have to do it, right? So I'm not going to mark you wrong if you haven't got it done. Don't worry, you don't have to do it, okay? Hopefully you've learned all about that last week. Let's look at number 2 now under task 2. Values and recovery of the mental health sector, all covered last week, do not do this part. So we've got recovery, recovery-oriented practice, etc., all the way down to citizenship. What you haven't done, oh, wait a minute. Let's go on to 4. Leave 3 for a minute. Go on to 4. Historical, current and emerging models of understanding mental illness in Australia, internationally. We did that last week. All right? Don't need to do that. Okay. So let's go a little bit crazy and not go back to 1 first, but let's go to 3, 5 and 6. So number 3 is evidence-based for recovery, including research.
Trevor?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
we're looking at assessment task 2. It says research project 4, and there are 4 questions on there.
Let's have a look.
Wherever you're at is completely different to what we're looking at.
Right, okay, yep, let's have a look here. Recovery-based, evidence-based.
Yeah, that's what we have. Yeah. What you're looking at right there is what we have.
Yeah, okay, cool. Evidence-based. That's...
That's 3.
No, wait a minute.
No. If you submit.
Yeah, that's 3. Yeah. They've split that into 2. Research-based. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's question 3 on the hard copy, guys. And this one here, we're going to... You know what I might do? Just leave 3, 5 and 6 for now. I've actually got it written on here, Thursday evening. I don't know if you guys have got it. No, the LMS people don't have that written on there, but the hard copy people, you've got it written at the end of 3, 5 and 6. Is that correct? It says Thursday evening.
Yep, this, yeah, I'll get that. You guys have to print them out.
No, not that one. No, in the actual assessment. All right, so that's been changed again. All right, we will do that on Thursday night. All right.
3, 5 and 6 is Thursday.
Thursday night. We'll have a look at that. All right. So that means, let's go back to LMS. You're back in task 1.
Okay, so you want us back in the induction pack?
Yes, please. Yep. All right. So for this task, you are to develop an induction pack for a client. Now, don't freak out. All right. Just bear with me for a second. Who is interested in self-directed recovery? For your induction pack, you will need to develop and include the following: an information pamphlet. Now, this is going to be interesting for the LMS people. You need to somehow upload that. And I've had this discussion with with Jono as to how we're going to do that. All right, so leave that with me. So just get that ready and I'll tell you on Thursday how we're going to do that. All right? So you're going to do this and then you're going to be uploading it into the LMS somehow. All right, if worse comes to worse, I'll get you to email it to me. But for now, we're going to try and upload it. All right, so rereading that, number one, an information pamphlet that informs the client about the steps involved in the basic procedure for self-directed recovery. This pamphlet should provide all the information a client would like to know about when interested in self-directed recovery and the self-directed recovery process. All right, this is actually pulling together everything that we just talked about in questions. That's why we do the questions first, because that's the easy place to start. Go back to written activity. It makes sense now to actually apply, all right? How do we pull all those things that we've learned about in questions together such that we can put it all on one page? What is self-directed recovery, right? So just an information pamphlet. You know what? I don't mind if you actually do like a brochure, like an A4 brochure, just one-sided A4, right? So if you folded it up into, don't fold it up, but you know those little A4s that they fold into 3, and that's a brochure that they hand out? Yeah, like a template on Word. All right, so just do it on an A4 sheet. You can do some drawings on it if you want to. You don't have to be a fantastic artist, but just include some of the things that are really key and very important about self-directed recovery. Right? It's, after all, it's an information pamphlet that you should be able to give to somebody and say, this is what self-directed recovery is all about. Right? So just reiterating, under 1 there, it says, this pamphlet should provide all the information a client would like to know. Now, obviously, you can't, when it says all, obviously not, they don't mean all, they just mean enough information that people understand what self-directed recovery is. So if you were to put into a nutshell, in fact, you might even put up the top, self-directed recovery means blah, 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 and then you've got little other, branching off from that. Yeah, and how you do that is, let me go crazy with your creativity, all right? How are we going, Alan Jr.?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Didn't hear that?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, number 2, a client information survey to serve as a foundation for the self-directed recovery plan. Now, for this, you know what I'm thinking? You know the rap sheet or the individualized plan that you handed in last week, right? I've had that uploaded, hopefully, into last week's unit. Let's have a look at that. Hopefully it should be sitting in there.
So did we do another rap?
There it is. It's under, just let me finish this here. So it's in MHS 001, the one we did last week, and it's under learning resource and other study materials. So another rap sheet. All right, so that's what we worked on last week. It's in the LMS if you want to download that. Or you can get it from work if you work at Selectability. Oh.
So we're just making another wrap.
Yeah, sorry.
That we're done.
Yeah, just hang on, Junior. I'm just going to go back into the LMS and just make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Yep. Client information survey to serve as a foundation for the self-directed recovery plan. Information to be collected in the survey could include, but is not limited to, the long-term goal for the client. No, it's actually not the wrap. I'm sorry. I've taken you on a wild goose chase. So, well, let's have a read of what it says here. The long-term goal for the client. So that is actually, found on the wrap. But this is stuff that's actually underlying both the star chart and the RAP, all right, or the individualized plan. So these things. Okay, it's a client information survey. So it's something that you can just do up, a very simple form.
It's a survey.
It's a survey which basically, just hang on, which basically can just have on it, you know, what's your long-term goal? What are your symptoms and medications? A tick and flick, yeah. And like when you get to substance use issues, all right, so that's, you might have a few things on there, but you might have other. You might have alcohol, you know, and it's actually up to the person whether they answer this. When you think about it as privacy and all that sort of stuff. Sorry? Empty. You can do an empty, all right? What's their living situation? What's their vocation? What's their education? Very simple survey, all right? That's all you need to do. So don't worry about the wrap. So this is separate to the first one. So number one is, yeah, you can do it on one. You could probably do all that in less than an A4, couldn't you? But yeah, at the very least an A4. Yep, okay. And number three, any other information that you think would be important or relevant to the potential client. I will leave that up to you. If you don't answer that, if you don't think there's anything, that's fine. You go in the draw for a trip to Fiji if you answer number three.
I'll be here when they draw the prize.
Sorry, what? Sorry, June? Sorry, hang on. I'll just wait for everybody to stop talking. June, big loud voice. That's a random question. Oh, hang on, where do you answer it? Wait a minute, can you drop and drag files? Ah, I've just found something. You can drag and drop files here to add them. All right, so they have actually, all right, there you go. So there is a way of uploading onto here. I asked for that and they've done it, which is good. All right, I'll just make sure that they've done it for this unit.
So I'm not understanding what you mean.
Yeah, I haven't finished answering your question. All right, so number one, you have to do an A4 sheet, which is an information pamphlet. Number two, you probably will do another A4 sheet, a survey. And number three, if you think there's anything else that we need to have, do that on another A4 sheet. Otherwise, don't do it.
You know, for question like this to three, can we put all that into that A4 paper?
No. No. The survey is going to be different to the information pack. All right. And I think we're finished. Is that right? So we're doing 3, 5, and 6 on Thursday. You've done 1. You don't have to do 2 or 4. So we're done. All right. Any questions, Mount Isa? Okay, just can I hold your attention for a second, guys? Just hold it. You're all good?
Yeah, I think we're all right.
Okay, thanks, Junior. All right, thanks, Mount Isa. Appreciate that. See ya. Alan, how's Palm?
Yeah, we're going to Fiji.
Sorry, Alan?
We're going to attempt question 3, so we're going to Fiji.
Oh, you're going to Fiji? Okay, all right. If you go to Fiji...
Are you paying for the trip if we answer question 3?
I'm not putting this in writing. Yes, I am.
It's recorded. It's recorded.
Oh, you're right too. Sorry. I take back that comment. Well done. I think that was you, Roseanne, wasn't it? Okay. All right. So don't go, people here in Townsville. All right. Thanks very much, Mount Isa. Thanks very much, Palm Island.
Right, thank you.
See you later. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So you guys just do what you got to do, and then we'll sit down and have a talk about the just some housekeeping.
Can I interrupt and just ask you why you wanted us to talk details for tonight? We haven't even looked at them. Right?
That's going to be for Thursday night.
Thank you.
Just hang on to them. Don't throw them away. It says notes for 3, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Don't throw them away. Bring it on Thursday night. Right? I think everybody, I'm just looking, I'm trying to do what we're talking about with clients, just watching your body language. It's like, I just want to go home. All right? And I'm with you. I understand. Oh, you have?
I've already done this housekeeping before.
Oh, right. Yeah, you don't have to be here. You can go.
I'm really hungry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll leave that off. No problem. See you, June.
See you next week. See you Thursday, guys.
Yeah, see you then, June. Oh, by the way, June did... No, it's all right. You go. You go. No, it's all good. It's all good. Yep.
Can we make this printer? Yeah.
You've got it there in your hand?
No, she's asking if she can use the printer. It's in the office here.
Now? Oh, you mean a photocopy?
Yeah, photocopy.
I've got copies of that. I've got copies. Who wants a copy of...
Me.
But I'm going to give it out on Thursday.
Anyway.
Don't do it now.
Oh, okay.
You can do it on Thursday. Yeah.
Yes. Print out the logbook. No. Oh, yeah. Well,
I can do that for you.
Yeah. I'd like that too.
All right. Okay, so let me take numbers. How many want a printout of the logbook? Hands up. Hands up.
I got one.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's it. All the rest of you are okay? Yep. 4 logbooks. Sorry? Yeah, do you want to follow me in later and I'll staple it for you? All right, so just 4. All right, 4 logbooks. Okay, I'll do that tonight before I go. Okay, so for housekeeping, how many people are doing paper answers? Right.
Just for now, Trev, I will tackle it.
Yeah.
But just right now and initially in what's happening in my life at the moment,
yeah.
I'm just paper.
All right.
So I'm keeping it simple.
Okay, for those who are doing the LMS, Jill, is it really easy to get onto? Yeah. All right. So, and do these guys here, the front office, do they lead you through how to do that? How to get in? How did you find out how to do it?
If you also get an email, you just get an email, go to it. It's got to put your password in.
It just leads you through. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's why I'm finding it easier. It's just taking the notes.
Yeah. Which I think, Jill, you're doing that too, aren't you? So Jill's doing the same. It is good to have a hard copy. So that was a question I was going to ask. Do I continue printing out the hard copies for you? All right. Okay. All right. So you're all good with that. So you can take notes, you can look at it and all that sort of stuff. All right. So I'll do that. All right. So I'm now going to talk to you about, so have a look on here. Housekeeping for paper copy folders. All right. That's right. Sorry, that's nothing to... You know in your folders, I think you've already gone through, have you? And you've seen the yellow Post-it notes?
Yes.
All right. So have you all attended to that?
I believe so, but the Post-it notes is remaining there.
All right. Leave the Post-it notes exactly where they are, and I'll go through and just check that you've actually done what I've asked you to do. That'd be great. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I checked yours. You're fine. Yeah, that's fine. Next point. Please put your folders into alphabetical order when you return them to the boxes. It's not just me that's requesting it. It's just really difficult if they're all over the place. There's, you know, people in the office, you can imagine if people didn't put things back in place, that sort of stuff. That'd be great. And obviously it's easy to see who hasn't done it because it's out of place. And it's not too hard, and it just helps you and us to find them easier later on. So thank you very much for that. I think I've said this last week, when you've finished each question, go back and check that you've actually answered what was asked. A lot of people don't do that. I'm just encouraging you. I'm going to keep saying it. Make sure you look back at the question. Did I answer that question? All right. Most importantly, ensure that you've answered everything that was asked. So I've said about double questions before. Make sure you answer both parts. For those of you who are handing in, so all right, you've all got the paper copies. Are you also all going to hand in paper copy assessments? Yes, you are?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
No.
I've decided okay then.
You are going to? Yeah. Okay. All right. No. All right. Yes. No. LMS? Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I think that's fine. I think the first and
Sorry,
the second, with the 2 assessments, I think I'll just do a paper. Because I found it easy to start writing and learning the second
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
And then the lot, and then I'll probably use it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you can transition to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you can't do both. So, yeah. which is sad. All right, so let me talk to you now, the people that are doing the paper copy assessments and handing them in. You have to hand them into the front counter. All right. You could actually email it to me, to the front counter if you want to do that. You can do that. No, that's not going to work, is it?
No, unless you take photos of every page.
All right. No.
So you can.
So there were two options last time. Let me just explain this to you. There was an option to do everything electronically. So I would send the, you know, everybody in the class last time got exactly what you get, which is a paper copy, shush, which is a paper copy learner resource and a paper copy assessment, which you could write onto your heart's content. But I also sent electronic copy of both of those things to everybody, and some people elected to do it electronically. Now, having said that, Jono doesn't really want to go down that line, right? He wants you guys to either do the paper copy or the LMS, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, all right. Otherwise, we've got three options, which is getting crazy. Yeah.
Double marking, so.
Not double marking, no. It's just three options.
Yeah, I might do the element at the next.
Sorry?
I might at another certificate I'll do. Maybe I'll try the elements, but I find that I'm reading and writing it.
Yeah.
You know, the different things I'm thinking in.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Whatever works for you. That's okay. All right. With that in mind, so I'm talking to the people now that are handing it in paper copy. Ensure you sign. So I'm here. Ensure you sign each assessment. All right. So that signing. It's okay. I know you're talking about work. I just really need you to hear this part. Make sure you sign. Right. So the signing is usually on the front or the next page. You've got to sign it. Right now, before you hand it in to the front counter, you sign.
I just put my name at the top of each page.
You've got to sign. Yeah, and it says student signature down the bottom. Look, in this one, it's not on the front cover. It's here, student signature.
Oh, I sign those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you meant my paper copy, you know, where I've written the questions, answers and things.
Yeah, I do mean the paper copy. If you're handing in this as a paper copy.
She thinks every piece of paper she's written up, she needs
For her, yes, every single piece of paper. No, I'm joking. Just that once there. Just that once.
Name on the other ones anyway. Yeah, no, sign all those.
All right.
Put your name in.
A lot of people forget to sign it. That's why I'm saying. You're in big trouble already.
I know.
Right.
I like that.
Okay. All right. So from now on, yeah, everybody sign. That's great.
So
all
you're
right.
going to give it back to me later. You don't want to go and get it now.
Well, no, I wouldn't know where it is. All right. Now, resubmissions. If you get something wrong, I'm going to let you know what it is. All right. I will send you an email probably and say, okay, you need to fix this up and work on it. All right. I'll hand it back to you. Joe, shush for a second so I can concentrate.
Yes, shush.
Yes. See? It's not just me.
It's been good now. Will you wait? It's so hard. I don't listen.
All right. Okay. I will put a post-it note where you need to fix it up, all right? I give it back to you. You fix it up. Don't get rid of the post-it note because I don't want to have to go through the whole thing again. I just want to find where the post-it note is and see that you've done it, all right? You hand it back to me. That's the first resubmission. If it's still wrong, you get another resubmission. You get another go at it. You only get 3 goes at it. You get the initial submission plus 2 resubmissions. If you don't get through in that time, and nobody has ever had to take a second resubmission, right? Because I usually explain, do this and do this and do this, and most people get it the next resubmission, right? But if you did need to take 3 submissions and you'd used all those up and you were going for a 4th, you'd have to re-enroll in that unit, right? You only get 3 goes at it. You have to re-enroll, right? You'd have to pay more money for that unit, not the whole qualification, that unit. Yeah, basically. And that's all I need to say to you. Okay. Any other questions? Good. All right. What are we waiting for? Yeah, wait for your logbooks. All right. So those 4 of you who wanted to print it out, come with me. Staple. Anything else you don't need, you can go. See you, Jody. See you, Leonie. All right. Is there?
Home time.
On LMS.
On unit 1.
On unit 1.
Yeah, for unit 1. I need to print some of the graphs.
She's on Thursday.
See you later. Hey. Bye-bye. So stick around those who want a logbook. So for unit 1, yeah, so on the LMS, click in there. Yeah, and where are we going?
Go to the, that one.
This one? This one. Conservation.
So when it says, download that, upload it. And that's what we did in class.
You don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that.
No,
Okay.
no. You've already